Good morning and welcome to Cooley Outdoors. I'm your host, Brandon Scott, and with me today is... Nobody knows. I'm kind of playing hooky, but kind of not. It's a weekday. I've been on a boat for like the last 2 months and there's no boat thing to go do for work, so I'm out here taking a day off. Where am I? Well, I am at the Dingford Creek Trailhead parking lot in Mount Baker, Snoqualmie National Forest. But I'm not going up the Dingford Creek Trail. I'm going up what is, depending on what book you look at, is called the Dutch Miller Gap Trail or the Middle Fork Snoqualmie Trail. There's kind of a loop. I'll show you on books and maps in a bit. But I am going up an old road, an extension of the road that I just got parked at. They closed it, I don't know, 20 years ago maybe or so. And I'm going to go see if this closed portion of road is good enough to ride bikes on, because theoretically it's still in good enough condition to where you can ride bikes on to the end of the road, which is 7 miles, 6 or 7 miles or so, and then you hit the wilderness boundary and the old trailheads to go up the Dutch Miller Gap Trail. So that's the plan for today, is I'm going to go walk this section of road, assess its condition for bikes in case Nash and I want to go riding bikes up it later. Thank you for joining us, or thank you for joining me. Alrighty, so here is a problem with, I guess, working with older books or going on certain trails, is not everything's going to be covered in a book. Hence this section. So, like I said, this used to be a road, not a trail. So this book that came out in like the early 2000s still has it as a road, and you can drive to the road end at Hardscrabble Creek. That would be hike number 96, Dutch Miller Gap, LeBon Gap. Dutch Miller Gap is eventually the end game. But, like it says, if the road is drivable, drive the Middle Fork Snoqualmie River Road, hike 92 to Dingford Creek, hike 94, and then 7 more miles to the road net at Hardscrabble Creek, elevation 3,000 feet. That 7 more miles is what I'm planning on walking. So, outdated book. Covers the area. Not what I want. Both these books also cover the area, but this one, they both cover the downstream section at the Gateway Bridge. If you remember, a couple months ago, I did a snowy, icy walk from the Gateway Bridge down to the Pratt River. I'll put that link there. This covers that upstream section if I would have gone to the left instead of the right. So, I technically have no books to cover, but I'll show you one now. Because I actually brought my Green Trails map for once. Put down for a second as I struggle to deal with this because I am crap. Alrighty. Map out. So here is I-90, Snoqualmie Pass. I came up this road, turned to dirt, followed that road. I am parked here. You can see there is a trail on either side of the Middle Fork Snoqualmie River. My plan is to hike this north section, which is the old road, which is now called the Dutch Miller Gap, the extension of the Dutch Miller Gap Trail, to at least that intersection, maybe come down that way. But at the very least, I want to get to there because the road used to go all the way there, and there's Hardscrabble Creek because there's a big ass waterfall up here, and I want to see if Nash and I can ride our bikes up this section and then hike further into the valley. But 3,000 feet to Hardscrabble Creek. I know for a fact there's still going to be a bunch of snow up there because it's been a spring without a spring. So at the very least, I'm going to march my happy butt and do this 7-ish, 8-ish mile route today. That is the plan. Oh, so as I was saying, it's kind of been a spring without a spring. The Dingford Creek Trail itself is there. Rex is parked there. Of course, it has been barely doing anything the entire time I drove up here. But you know, of course, so I start actually hiking and filming, it starts raining on me. But like I said, road is closed to vehicle traffic.
but is not closed to hikers and bikers, and I assume equestrian traffic too. So the operation for today is to get me outside and in the woods, because it's been nearly 2 weeks since I've had a day off again. And 2 weeks ago when I had that day off, you're wondering why I didn't see any videos in like a month. What the heck, man? Well, 2 weeks ago, coming up on Saturday, was Nash's birthday, and we were planning on going and doing stuff. Plan A was to go up to Diablo Lake up in North Cascades and kayak for his birthday. And then if the weather wasn't quite perfect for that, we were gonna find some other hikes to do up there, hopefully. But it's been a spring without a, it's been a year without a spring. What do I mean by that? April was the second coldest April we've had in Seattle in like 60 odd years. And May, so far, is turning out to be the wettest May in over 20 years, and is also shaping up to be the coldest May in like 30 years. So we really haven't had a spring. And of course, that day on Nash's birthday, when you remember this time last year, when we went up and putzed around and walked across Ross Dam, I'll put that there. Let's try that again. I'll put that there. It was like 65 and sunny. Well, Nash's birthday, it was 43 degrees in Seattle, and it rained 3/4 of an inch. So yeah, we didn't go out and go do anything. Even today, it's only like 48 or 49 degrees out right now, and it's poopy. This is most definitely November weather and not mid to late May weather. But my days off have been very few and very far between. So if I get a day, even in the middle of the week with crappy weather, holy shit! Huh. Well, that'll be a long exposure on the way back, if I do the loop or not. Cool. So this is Dingford Creek. Yes, I know it looks like a river. It's not. Not for Seattle, it's not. It is a creek. But yes, it is quite soggy and quite cold. Yesterday we had 40-mile-an-hour winds all day. Very November-like storm. And today it's supposed to be like this. But this coming weekend, it's actually going to behave itself and be more May-like. Upper 60s, maybe 70 degrees, and mostly sunny. But that's Saturday, Sunday. It's Thursday, and we're in the mountains. So, that was Dingford Creek. Yes, I know, to some of you, you may be saying, that ain't no creek, that's a raging river. That's a creek. Welcome to the Washington. Welcome to Western Washington. But probably not going to be super exciting unless I find some exciting stuff. So this probably will be a shorter-ish video. But I am testing 2 new pieces of equipment. 2 new to me pieces of equipment. One is actually new. One has just been scrounged out of Father's infinite storage abilities. Let's talk about the new piece. I went to Costco and bought a brand new GoPro Hero 10, which is what we're filming on right now. The old GoPro was a 5, a Session 5. So hopefully this will be better picture, smoother picture, so on and so forth. And this new and the 9 and the 10 GoPros come with interchangeable batteries. Hopefully I don't have to worry about battery dying. Although now that I say this, I think I left the extra battery back in Rex. Oh well. The other new to me piece of equipment is this hiking stick. Well, what's so special about that? It's got a tripod on the bottom, yo. So I have the regular tripod I've been using for long exposures with me. But I'm gonna try this out. As you can see, it's got a screw-on camera mount on the top. It won't be perfect for every situation, but I figured I'd give it a try. And then, oh yeah, one last big piece of news for this channel. Please stay tuned, because as this summer hopefully actually happens, I'm gonna be climbing some volcanoes, yo. I'm gonna climb, well, not just me, obviously, but me, Nash, and my father, at the very minimum, are climbing, at the very minimum, Mount St. Helens, hopefully, on June 16th. We've already got the day off for Nash and I. My dad's retired, so he can do it whenever he wants. But we've got the days off. We bought our permits to climb it. Now we just gotta hope that the weather cooperates enough. I mean, unless it's like a disgusting day, I'm sure we'll be up there anyway. But hopefully by mid-June, whatever this poopy weather is doing stops doing it, and we get at least a halfway decent day to climb St. Helens. The plan is to climb St. Helens, Mount Adams, and Mount Baker this summer, and then climb Mount Rainier and hopefully Glacier Peak next summer. That way I get all 5 volcanoes in Washington climbed. That's the plan. I've been wanting to do this for years, but between playing baseball all the time growing up and then college and working, just hadn't been able to work out. But this year I'm gonna try and put my foot down and do it. I've climbed St. Helens once before. My brother, my father, and I climbed it after my freshman year of college, so June 2015. Then I've been up to Camp Muir a bunch of times. Hopefully you'll do that this summer too, and I'll take a video of that. But I've been up to Muir almost every summer for like the last 8 or 10 years. It's a fun hike. Camp Muir is the halfway point of the most common summit route on Mount Rainier. I'll probably explain more of that later at a different video. And then Baker and Adams are the other 2 volcanoes out of the 5 in Washington that are like St. Helens, and you're supposed to be able to do a day if you're good. St. Helens, it's like 10 miles round trip and 5,000 feet of elevation gain, so pain in the butt day hike, but very much doable in like 8 or 10 hours. Adams and Baker are a bit longer, so we'll see if we actually get those done in a day. I think we're gonna try and do Baker first and then do Adams, just because Baker is closer to the cabin. But anywho, back to today's objective. So far this looks like a pretty easy bike ride. It is wet, it is froggy, the vine maples are just now leafing out. Even the Devil's Club, this disgusting painful plant, hasn't even leafed out yet. And it's freaking late May. I mean, I know we're at like somewhere around the 1,500, 2,000 foot range probably, but still, it's not like it's March or April. It's May. Stuff should be a lot more oomphed out than it is, and it's not, because we've had such a cold spring. The salmon berries have leafed out. There is a couple flowers over there. Got some trilliums over here, but like even the sword fern, the winter leaves are out, but the new spring shoots haven't even come up yet. Left Rex at 9:45. I think it's 4 miles or so to that bridge, I think. I have to look it up when I get home and insert the actual mileage here. But yeah, unless I see something really cool and exciting, hopefully it won't be a super long video, in case y'all got butt hurt about the hour-long videos for the last couple adventures. This might stay to half an hour, or it might not. Hee hee. Oh, one other thing. If you were curious about the drive up to this, up the dirt road, it looks pretty much like this. I had wrecks in 4 high the whole time just because it's good to do when you get off pavement. And there were 3 suspect creek clearings, or creek crossings, creek bed crossings that I did need my high ground clearance for. If you've been up this road, you'd know. If you don't, your Subaru is probably not going to make it up here. You're going to need something a little taller than that, a little more ground clearance. Otherwise, it's not that difficult to drive. Just dodge the big potholes and the puddles, just because they haven't been out here to work on it since winter storms did their thing. That sounds like a suspicious drop of water. Let's see if we get a good view of it. Doo doo doo. Doo doo doo. No, just Angry River. So that is the middle fork of the Snoqualmie River. This Dutch Miller Gap Trail follows it all the way up to La Bonne Gap. As you saw before, this road was closed to vehicle traffic. It was 15 miles one way, so 7.5 or 15 miles round trip, 7.5 miles one way, which I'm sure made for a cool and exciting, slightly long day hike. But now you got to do this extra 7 miles each way. So instead of a 15-mile round trip, it's now a 30-mile round trip, which means it's a weekend backpack. Probably a good starter backpack for people like Nash and myself and Sabrina, if we so choose, especially if we can ride our bikes up and down half of it. Probably make most of a day, take most of a day out just to ride your bikes up to the end, then hike to a camp, take the next day to lollygag up to La Bonne Gap, the pass and back, and then a bike out. Big cliffs. I'm not thinking there's gonna be much excitement here, so I'm gonna try and figure out how to turn this off. Is it rolling? Yes, it is. All right, I found a nice little gravel bar in a quiet portion of the river. I've probably gone a mile or so, but this is most definitely the upper portion of the Middle Fork Snoqualmie River. Not nearly as hectic as the bigger sections further downriver, and it's cleared up remarkably quickly. When I was driving up alongside it on the paved section of road, not more than 10 miles down the river, it was muddy and cloudy and gross. But up here it looks pretty sweet. It's got its nice clear green color. As you can see, the sun is trying to come out, but as you can see over there, the clouds are rolling. And it is still trying to drizzle and mist on me, but I figured I'd stop here for a second and look at the river, and this might be a spot to do a long exposure of on the way back down. So I said I might do the loop, cross over the river at the bridge, and come down the, what's the proper Middle Fork Snoqualmie Trail at Goldmire Hot Springs, but I think I'm gonna leave that to another day with Nash. I'm just gonna go up and down this just so that I can get up as far as I want, turn around, and stop at a couple spots if I want to take some long exposures later. As I come up here more and more, this is this easy access to at least this portion of the river. Could be some good fishing. That's gonna have to wait for a couple months though yet. I'm sure the fish aren't very active this time of year. But god dang, That is a pretty river. And on a weekday, on a chilly, sprinkly May day, I saw 3 other cars this whole way up here parked at various parking lots, including one at the Dingford Creek Trailhead lot I parked at. On a nice weekend, it'd be hundreds of cars. This is the easiest trail corridor to access from Seattle in National Forest, if you don't count the menagerie of trails right off of I-90 going up Snoqualmie Pass. This trail corridor outside the National Forest has trails like Mount Si and maybe Rattlesnake, maybe not, it's close by, and Mailbox Peak. And I'm sure if you follow some other bunch of other social media outdoor influencers, which I am not, I am just a boy out hiking, exploring. I'm not trying to make a bunch of money off of this. It would be nice if it would happen eventually. This is more for my sake, selfish sake. Record it, stick it somewhere in perpetuity. Like, look at how pretty that is. Oh, that's so pretty. If this gap was a little wider, I'd set up for a long exposure right there, but I'm sure I'll find more good spots. This is just for me to enjoy. Oh, this will be a good spot for a long exposure, maybe, depending on how the sun reflects off the river. So I can look back on in 10, 15, 30 years and be like, oh yeah, that's what that trail used to look like. Let's go check this out. But I've been told, wow, that just drops off, because those riffles are no more than a couple inches deep. That hole's probably 5 or 6 feet deep. I bet there's A, some fish hanging out in there and out there, and B, that looks like a good swimming hole. Keep getting distracted. But yeah, this is just mostly for me. Show off. A, to show off what I do. Whoa. That's Big Rockfall came down that not too long ago. Obviously long enough for the trail crew to come in and cut this tree that got knocked down. That day did not do that last winter. That must have been a couple years ago. But damn, that was a big rockfall that came down. But it's more for, you know, it's like writing a book. That's something I was also trying to do in high school, was writing a book about my family's adventures into national parks when I was a kid. Got about 130,000 words into it, and I just haven't touched it because busy. You get older, you get more responsibilities, and you get more distractions, and you quit. And I didn't even get to the Yellowstone part, which is probably going to be half the book. But yeah, this is more for recording. Instead of a reading book, it's like an audiobook. Hence why I don't care how long the videos are, because I'd rather see more than see less. But yeah, anyway, back to what I was talking about. Wow, I get sidetracked really easily. I've been told I'm good at narrating, hence the book, and hence why I'm doing this, because I've been told by a couple people I'm a good narrator voice and have enough to talk about and yada yada yada. But corridor, popular trail corridor, Mailbox Peak, Rattlesnake Ledge, Mount Si, Little Mount Si, all those trails see tens of thousands of people in a weekend now. So if you look up any person who's done their basic Washington or Seattle area hiking, I'm sure one of those 3 come up. It's all over the place. So that's why there's tons of people up this road corridor, and why on nice summer weekends, even on not so nice weekends, there's tons of people up here. But with this very unseasonably cold and wet spring we've been having, and it being a Thursday, there's not much people out, which is refreshing. Something Nash and I got used to the first summer of COVID, which is partly what inspired me to start doing this, is because that first summer of COVID, Nash and I were both unemployed at the time. Well, no, Yeah, Nash was unemployed for most of the summer. I was employed for part of the summer. And I got a job when I worked weekends, but had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. And so with Nash being unemployed, what did we do those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? We went the flip outside and hiked every day and got nobody out here because a lot of people still weren't going outside, which makes sense. If you're worried about it, that's fine, stay inside. But a lot of people, even if they were going to work, or if they had work, if they were working from home, you're at work on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You're not wandering out. So we got used to being outside on wide open trails. Oh man, that's just so pretty. There's a fish. Nope, that's a stick. Never mind. I thought it was a fish. It's just a stick tumbling. But man, oh man. Oh, and the sun's gonna come out. Oh goodness. The sun coming out with the fog. I bet that's a pretty picture. I bet the camera's liking that. Hopefully it's pointing in the right direction. Just, oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Again, I said it was going to be a short video, and yet I've been rambling along, and I'm sure this video is 15 or 20 minutes long already. So, again, it's road. It looks very good for biking on. Very scenic. And again, I'm not afraid of name dropping these places, because it's not like this is an unknown area. Yeah, the road to get up to this particular trailhead, you're going to need a high clearance vehicle, at least at this time of year. But the other trails in this corridor, they're not secrets. It's just so weird being out in the woods in May and not everything's already leafed out. Like the cottonwoods, look like they just now leafed out. The maple trees are just getting their florets and seeds out. They haven't even leafed out yet. It's weird. Anyway, enough about that. Enough staring at a road. So, just passed mile marker 20, and there's a fork. The road has deteriorated all of a sudden, and there's a fork. One fork goes this way, goes up to my left, one goes straight ahead. I'm assuming there's a washout on one of these forks, which is why they split. I'm gonna keep going straight. I'm thinking they'll reconnect, but up until then, the roads have been quite nice. I think the Dingford parking area, excuse me, is between like mile marker 17 and 18, or it might be just pretty much right on 18. I didn't see an 18, so I've gone about 2 miles. But yeah, this looks like water flowed through this fairly recently and fairly often. So I'm assuming that's why this road is now closed to public traffic, is just because it's dangerous and it's washouty. But I'm assuming there's a split there for service vehicles to still get up here for like when they want to do trail maintenance. They can still drive all the way to the road's end and park it, because there's a horse camp at Hardscrabble Creek, so they can still drive up and park and do their high maintenance. That was a hummingbird buzzing by. It sounds like there's something else in this tree squeaking at me. But yeah, this is definitely not normal drivable. Well, okay. That was weird. Something definitely squeaked at me twice that wasn't a hummingbird, and it wasn't any of the normal things I'm used to hearing squeak. Maybe the camera picked it up, but my eyeballs didn't see anything. But I definitely heard a couple of squeaks at me. Oh yeah, right there. The river overtops and flows through here. Yeah, that'll definitely do it. Built the berm there to try and discourage most of the flow. Huh. Okay. Well, that's interesting. And it looks like we get back to the normal good track this way, and here comes that offshoot coming right back in over here. So yeah, my hunch was correct. Oh, big cedar trees. Yep. So all of this is not in wilderness area. Decommissioned road, you'd think. Well, maybe they would, but not if they're still letting at least service vehicles drive on it. And also, I like it. Yeah, I'm all for wilderness areas, but if you wilderness area this, you can't ride your bikes up it either. And that turns into a real big booty hike. I believe they're called bleeding hearts. That's what they look to me, and I think that's what they're called. Those are starting to flower. Those are, again, one of the first wildflowers that come up in the spring. So they should have been up a month ago. Instead, they're up now. I mean, there's even trilliums up still, I've seen. And those are like the first wildflower to bloom in the spring in the forest. It's trilliums. And those are still out, and it's freaking May like 19th. Yeah, because yesterday was the 42nd anniversary of St. Helens popping her top. So, short break, 2-ish miles in. Who knows how many more to go. That's all. Just another short sunny shot of the river. And as you can see on the hills on the other side of the valley, there is fresh snow not 500 feet in elevation above me. It's not like I'm at 3,000-4,000 feet of elevation. I'm at like 2, maybe. And there's fresh snow at low elevation in late May. So it's kind of an interesting juxtaposition. You got spring grass growing alongside the river and the roadside. The vine maples are starting to leaf out. The river's running. It was raining. Sun's out now, and there's fresh snow. Welcome to Washington, baby. It does whatever it wants, whenever it wants, and we're just all along for the ride. But I figured, you know, more super sexy river shots is better than less. So, but I mean, except for that washout spot, this looks like a pretty easy and exciting bike ride. The road's in really good shape. So at this moment, I'm saying heck yeah, come back on our bikes in a month or so and make a nice big day trip out of it. But I thought I'd show you the snow and the sun at the same time. As you can see, probably 60 feet behind me, just past mile marker 22. So 4-ish miles. And oh my goodness, what is that yellow orb in the sky projecting bright light onto the ground? It's not raining. The sun's been trying to poke out more and more in the last half an hour or so. My current time is 11:20, so I've been sauntering for about an hour and a half and probably gone 4 miles or so. So putting down a pretty good pace, but I'm also winded. So what happens when you work like a dog for the last 2 months, 7 days a week, 65, 70 hours a week, at all times of the day. I could be out at work at 2 a.m. just as often, if not more often, than 2 p.m. and every time in between. So sleep schedule's messed up, eating schedule's messed up, exercise schedule's been pretty much non-existent, and whoo boy, I am feeling it. This isn't pause for station identification on the Cooley Outdoors YouTube network, taking the scenes of sunny spring. No wind, no rain, a little bit of sun, stuff is leafing out. There appears to be a side creek dumping in over here. We'll return to Brandon moaning and complaining in a few short seconds. Oh yeah, this makes it all worth it. Pause in the sun, enjoy the creek. Anywho, I've been exercising and I'm feeling it a wee bit. But my pace has always been fairly quick. Like I said, been 4 miles or so in an hour and a half. But I need to really be exercising this next month if I have a hope and a prayer of even doing St. Helens without feeling like a tub munching my way up the side of the mountain. But that's my excuse. Sun's coming out. We should be getting fairly close to this old trailhead intersection where there'll be a trail that'll go down to the river, to cross the river, go to Goldmire Hot Springs, and to get back on the Middle Fork Snoqualmie Trail and go back to where I just came. But I'm not gonna go on that side. I'll go down to the river, probably eat lunch, take a long exposure, at least one direction of the river, then I'll come back up and saunter up the road more, maybe, depending how I feel, for another hour or two, and then turn around and head home. But again, there'll be some rough spots for the bicycles. That's not a bicycle tire. There'll be some rough spots for the bicycles, but I think it'll be overall pretty, fairly well-to-do ride, especially when summer rolls along and this dries out. And instead of being in rain gear, you can be in shorts, t-shirt, day pack, and pedal, pedal, pedal. So look out, Nash. This is a bike trail. This is gonna be a bike route we'll take sometime later. Well, would you look at that? There's a split in the road, and I see a sign on a tree. $10 says the way to the left is to continue up the trail. $10 says the way down to the right is to cross the bridge and go to Goldmire Hot Springs. Oh man. And that sign on the tree says Goldmire Hot Springs to the right. Thank you for the $20. I'll be here, I guess, all life. Yeah, I'll be here collecting, if you please. Oh, I got cold. Shit. Big cloud. Came in, it got dark, it got chilly. I'm also dropping down towards the river. It's only been a couple minutes, but I figured y'all didn't want to see that. So, I have made it down to the river. It's like an impromptu camping area, which is cool. And a bridge. Tall bridge. Yummy bridge. Scenic bridge? Maybe. Let's go find out. Let's go see where I'm taking my lunch and my long exposure. Oh. Oh goodness. Oh yes. You can see a little bit of mountain and snow back that direction. But oh yeah. This is going to do for a long exposure spot. Now, do I shoot upstream or do I shoot downstream? It appears downstream is going to be the better spot. So I'm probably going to shoot, especially with the sun coming out and the blue sky coming up this direction. Yeah, definitely going to shoot downstream. So I'm going to go set up and have lunch, I guess. In case you're wondering what the other side of the bridge looks like, where it's been trail the whole time, you come down to here. Middle Fork Trail going upstream and downstream on this side. I guess there's another bridge upstream where the road actually ends and you get to the trailhead. Dutch Miller Gap to your left upstream. Goldmire Hot Springs down to your right stream. There's another sign down there that says Goldmire. And if you come down here and look at it, it appears the old bridge height was here at this flat to that flat on the other side. And fairly recently, we put in all this new rockery and raised the level of the bridge by 10 feet. Which I understand, got high water, eventually it's gonna get high enough to reach the bridge at that level. So we bring it up. Because all this rock work looks fairly new. Like you barely even have any grasses growing on it or regular sedges and stuff growing on it. The bridge itself looks like the wood looks aged. So I'm wondering if they somehow were able to lift the bridge up, probably with a heavy lift helicopter or something, and build the rock works and set it back down. But they said it was gonna rain sometime between 12:30 and 2 o'clock. It's like 12:15 now and it's raining, so I'm gonna go find a place to hide and let this long exposure run for a while. Only supposed to rain for a little bit. That was in North Bend though. This could take a while. Which again, I'm fine with. I'm in my rain gear. This isn't going to bother me so much. I just was, you know, sitting out on the bridge, enjoying the views of the river, enjoying the sun, and then the sun went away, and now it's raining. So now, I'm going to come into this camp area, probably go sit on one of those stumps for 10 or 15 minutes. But the stumps aren't under a tree cover. Guess I'll just hang out here for a bit. Well, it's a good thing I packed up when I did and got my long exposure done when I did, because as you can see, 2 cars who are obviously meant for the hot springs are heading down. And if I would have hung out for 5 minutes longer, I would have been interrupted. But that's why, at least partially why, this road is still cleared and kept in good condition, at least to the hot springs, because I didn't go look at it because, as you saw, COVID, you have to have regulations to go in. You have to have reservations, not regulations, reservations to even access the hot springs. But there's, if you go across, you go down a quarter mile, it's like right over there somewhere. There's a parcel of private land where there's some hot springs coming up on a creek. And there's some waterfalls on the creek also, so it's like a little resort. And obviously when this road was open, it was you could drive up, quick hike in and hike out. Now they've got to do all this extra stuff and extra hiking, so I'm sure their business, or if it is a business, however they run it, has been hurt by it. But that's the other reason why this is still a drivable road and why there's no wilderness cutting all this off and turning it into no vehicles only, because they still have to access their hot springs. Maybe another time I'll go to the hot springs when the reservation and registration thing goes away. You can just walk in and take a soak. Might do that and go up the hiking trail side and go and take a dip and hang out. But I think I've decided that 4.5 miles there is good enough for today. It's getting to be near 1 o'clock. I've got to start to work tomorrow, so I'm going to start moseying my way on back and probably take a couple more long exposure, at least at that gravel bar, I would think, and then Dingford Creek. And I think if I go up the Dingford Creek Trail, a short jaunt, there's an actual like waterfall area. It's also like in the summer, I think it turns into like when the water's low enough, it's called like the Dingford slide pools or something, where people go hang out and go swim and stuff. There's a similar thing up the last trail before you go over the top of the pass and take the last exit on I-90 and you go up. It's another super popular trail, but I know part of the way up when you have to cross the creek the first time, that's a swimming area, waterfall area, another thing I want to go check out. But I know up here, pretty sure you go up to that waterfall spot, up the Dingford Trail a little ways. There's like a slide pool area, which obviously you saw how much water is coming down when we crossed the bridge at the very beginning. And you're not going to be swimming in that today. But come back in like August, if I go hike up the Dingford Creek Trail and go to either Myrtle or Hester Lake for a day hike, that would be a good swimming spot at the very end. If we don't swim in any of the lakes or whatever, you know, there's always more options. Like this, I may have done half the loop, but I still gotta hike that side. And then next time, come up here on bike all the way up to the end of the road, and then hike up toward Dutch Miller Gap, see how high into the alpine meadows we can get, and there's so on and so forth. But the long exposure, if you go watch it, is nice because I set it up, sun came out, nice and sunny, ate my lunch. Pretty much as soon as I finished eating my lunch, clouds rolled back in, got a rain squall, a drizzle squall for about 15-20 minutes. That went away, and the sun started to come out for a little bit, and it looked like it was going to cloud up again, which it did. So I turned the camera back off and left. So now it's just a hunky-dory walk back to Rex and take some long exposures. Ain't it pretty in the sunshine? Don't worry, I took like a half an hour long exposure, so there'll be that video along with two or three other long exposure videos. But yeah, you don't get stuff like this in a lot of places. Big, I mean, this is a creek. This ain't even a river. That is freaking sweet. Yummy. Oh, anywho, this will be just about the end of the hike. The sun's come out and it is drying things and creating a bunch of fog. Probably 9 or 10 miles I covered today. It is 3:15 almost, counting my probably hour of stoppage I did for long exposures on the way back. Took me, again, less than 2 hours to cover this 4.5 or 5 miles, or however long it was. But yeah, the sun coming out is a very, very nice surprise. Makes things very pretty. It has been chunking its way out. Some of the long exposures got caught in rain squalls, but as I sat there taking video of Dingford Creek there, it was sunny for most of the time, and as you can see, there's big chunks of blue sky rolling in. Do I have anything else fun and exciting to talk about? Not really. Thank you for joining me on another one of my adventures. Hopefully in the not too distant future, there will be less soggy riverside hikes and more sunny hikes up into the mountains, higher into the mountains, get more alpine views, more waterfalls, more lakes, yada yada yada. That all requires correct weather and me getting time off. So if you like this video, look at that, there's the gate. It's like I perfectly timed this or something. If you like this video, please leave a like. If you want, please leave a comment, tell me how good I did or did not do. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. I'm going to try and get better about posting a bunch of pictures on the Cooley Outdoors Facebook page. I try to post the 10 picture limit on Instagram and the 4 picture limit on Twitter, but I'm gonna try and do like the 30, 40, or 50 photo dump you can do on Facebook. So be sure to check all 3 social media sites for that, and go watch more videos and give more likes and share it to your friends if you like them to help grow the page. Thank you for hanging out with me. See you next time. Ciao.